So oftentimes the hardest part of any project is actually getting started on the project, getting the thing off on the right foot, because unless you do that, you never quite have the path to the end, right? So I want to cover those steps. You've decided on the car. You've brought the car home. Now what do you do with it? How do you turn this thing into what, your vision, your imagination says? So we picked this car up about a year and a half ago. It's an 1874 Duster. It's a 225 slant six, 3-speed on the floor, 7.25 rear. It's completely bone stock, and it was a California car, so it has no body rust. The bottom of the fenders, the bottom of the doors, the quarters, completely rust free. It does have some rust holes on the floor because it was a rubber floor mat car, and they all have that, but they're easily patchable holes. So we drove this thing home last year, and it suits our purpose perfectly. So now suiting the purpose is a very important thing to understand. So, and this is another thing too. If you're in this thing, if you're looking at from a flipper standpoint, you're looking to turn the car over and make profit off it, this is the wrong video. I'm not talking to you guys. I'm talking to the guys who want their car, who want the long-term project, and they're going to actually love this thing. They're going to hold on to it. And also, I see the guys in the comments already. Rip that out, put a 444 speed in it, right? Listen, you guys are champions for thinking that way, right? But I've already got hot rods and muscle cars up the wazoo. My purpose for this car is I wanted a stock, mellow, quiet, original driver. I want something that has all of the parts that it was born with, including the 1-barrel slant six and the single exhaust and the little 3-speed on the floor. That's how I want this car. And I want it to be like a time capsule. When I get in this car, I want the 21st century to just disappear, and I want to go back to the 70s or the 80s and just motor along happy and smooth. And that's something this car does exceptionally well. No squeaks, no rattles, no nothing. It really drives like a brand new car.
Let me see the different angle.
Because Mustang guys, they make all this fucking racket. You notice that? Why do late model Mustang guys have to drive around in first gear? So let's get back to how you get started on your project, right? Or how I think you should get started on your project, because everybody is different, everybody's priority is different, every car is different. But these are the basic universal steps that kind of like fit, across the board. You've just brought this thing home. So assessing it, before you can assess the car, you've got to clean the car. So this thing has been sitting in the back lot. It's covered with yuck. We're going to give this thing, we're going to pressure wash it out now. We're going to clean it up under the hood. We're going to clean up the trunk lid. And then we're going to walk around the car and we're going to assess exactly what it needs. So let's do that. Let me break out the power washer and see if we can polish the turd, so to speak. So as a rule, when I clean one of these cars up for the first time, I hit the really dirty spots first. So I'll get inside the trunk lid, and which actually isn't too bad, but the gutter's got to get cleaned out. And definitely under the hood. Yeah, this hasn't seen a bath since day one. You want to get the trunk under the hood, you want to get the door jambs and all that stuff before you start cleaning the rest of the body, because obviously anything you clean up under here is going to get blown all over the car. So you do this part of it first. So let's fire this thing up and get to work. big improvement in just a few seconds. If you guys that are new to this stuff, you gotta cover everything. Well, no, all of this stuff is designed from the factory to drive through like rainstorms. So as long as the air cleaner is in place and a distributor cap is on there tight, you shouldn't have any problem. It'll just dry up on its own, car will start and run. If you do have an issue, pop the distributor cap off. You might have gotten a little, especially because it's steam, you'll get steam, because the motor's still hot. You want to do this while the motor's hot. You'll get some steam will gather up inside the cap, so just pop it off and give it a wipe down with a paper towel and you should be good to go. But look at the difference, just a couple of seconds worth of pressure washing this thing made. I'm going to give it another lap and then move on to the rest of the body. So when we're all finished, we'll towel dry off whatever got wet on the interior and leave it sit with the windows down and let it air out and dry that way. We didn't get too much water in the interior. And when you're spraying in the trunk, you want to not get it against the back of the back seat. A lot of cars don't have a divider between the trunk and the back seat, so that could lead to like a mold problem. But if that's the case, take the back seat out and let it air dry. All right, let's make this thing pretty. So just like doing under the hood and in the trunk and the door jambs, you always want to get the top side of the car first because anything you blow off the top is going to roll then onto the sides. So that's what we're doing here. We're just working ourselves front to back, or we're front to back. And as we're doing this, we're looking for like little areas that may need attention. Like for instance, I saw this before, but it really stands out now. We got a nice sized dent in the roof, and this is actually a very hard place to get to in this car because it's a unibody structure, and the frame rail is actually this. So we're probably going to have to do some surgery here to get this straight. But I mean, other than that, with the car wet and clean, there's really no obvious damage to it. No crazy dings or ripples or anything like that. We got a couple of small dents. But again, nothing. We got a little dent here. I didn't see that before, but now that it's wet and shiny, you can see that. There's a little divot right here. But overall, this thing is it's just like in outstanding condition. So we're going to keep going with this. So the next phase is we're going to do the wheels. We're going to get all up inside the wheel wells over here and blow out as much loose stuff as we can. And that's really important because you want to be able to assess, is this rust or is it just dirt? And given the overall condition of this car, I know that that's just dirt. But you still, as a matter of practice, get in the wheel wells, give the rear end a squirt, go all the way around, and then do the sides of the car. Keep going. So now with the basic cleanup done, obviously it needs a scrub, and there's a lot of mold on the inside of the glass here. But with the basic cleanup done, we can walk around the car and really look at what we need. Now this is going to be different from person to person because things that offend my sensibilities or irritate me about the car may be different than the ones that irritate you. So at this stage of the game, what you want to do is you want to walk around the car and you want to find the things that you can't live with. Like, you look at it and you got to squint, or you got to look away, or it's like, so for me, right off the bat, and these are simple things. I love the slots. The slots are perfect for this body style, but it has these weirdly undersized fronts. They're 185, 55, 14s. They're like some sort of foreign car. So I'm going to put a set of set of front tires to match the size of the back tires. That's a big thing to me, right? You know, the car's got to sit right. It's got to stance right, high and alert, right? Little things, you know, the cheapo J.C. Whitney mirror, that's got to go, and I have a couple of nice stock ones I can put on there. On the interior of the car, we have to patch the holes in the floor. They're not that bad. There's here, so just relatively small areas that need to be addressed. We're not going to put whole floor pans on the car. We'll just patch the areas that need, that need it. I can't live with the black painted gauge cluster. So we're going to start looking for a gauge cluster, a proper gauge cluster, with just a faceplate for it, because all of the gauges actually work on this car. So we're just going to change the faceplate for it. It's got some cheap seat covers, but you know what? They're not ripped. I can live with this for a while. I can't live with this headliner. The headliner is all eaten and rotted away, so we're gonna have to change that. So, and then we're gonna go a little at a time. Like the body damage on the car, these are easy fixes. Time consuming, but still easy fixes. And it won't take much to get this car in paint at all. So I'm like more than thrilled. But again, you see, those are the things on this particular car that I look at and say that I have to fix to make myself happy with it. They may be completely different on your car, maybe different in your head, but the assessment stage of this and fixing those things that right away, jump out at you and say, oh, I can't live with this, right? That's important to do, and this is the time that you do it. Oh, I got to fix the wipers. There's evidently no linkage at all on there, so we want to make this car like roadworthy, so that we can just jump in it at any time, turn the key, and go anywhere. So that's it. I'm going to keep cleaning here, get some of this mold off the windows, and that's it for now. I'll see you tomorrow.